The Afia Business Morning. Join me every weekday on the Afia Business Morning as we bring to you a trilogy of business segments. The opening bell where we see activities from our selected stock exchanges. The global business where we bring you up to speed on business activities making the rounds all over the world. And we bring the conversation home on the segment Eastern Business Reports as we discuss business activities and issues bedeviling businesses in the Southeast region. My name is Ubon Kings. Join the Afia Business Morning every weekday 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Exclusive to Afia TV on DSTV channel 254 and Go TV channel 17. The Afia Business Morning. Business unusual.
Top of the morning to you and welcome to the Afia Business Morning. Sincere apologies, we're going to bring to you the opening bell segment right here, but I want to thank you again for joining me on the global business. And today, as always, we're going to be taking a look at stories from the business news, stories from around Africa and the rest of the world. My name is Ubon Kings. Here are the headlines that we're tracking at the moment. Starting off from Africa, where it's reported, stories about Africa, where it's reported that IMF predicts inflation woes to linger in Africa. And outside Africa, European Union minimum wage rules not respected by 7 countries. And the other story about BRICS says the 16th BRICS summit will ride a test of Moscow's influence in world affairs. We'll bring you details of the stories and more right after this time out. Stay tuned. I don't like this shot. You're watching Global Business right on the Afia Business Morning, and we begin with business stories from Africa and about Africa, where it's reported that the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has predicted inflation woes to linger in Africa and the Middle East, as inflation has become a serious issue with the cost of basic goods and services soaring in many African countries. Where progress is reducing inflation is more evident in advanced economies like the US, but is to take longer for countries in the Middle East and Sub-Saharan Africa, which of course continue to grapple with double-digit price increases. Moreover, inflation has become a serious issue in Africa as the cost of basic goods and services are soaring in many countries, and over the past few years, essentials like food, fuel and transportation have become way more expensive, making it tougher for people, especially those already struggling financially. Now, there's a particular paragraph in this story that fascinates me, and it reads this way. I'm going to try to paraphrase it. It reads that with the cost of basic goods, goods and services soaring in many African countries, progress in reducing inflation is more evident, so to speak, in advanced economies like the US. But it's taking a longer time for countries in the Middle East and Sub-Saharan Africa to catch up. Now, the question really is, what are these other countries doing that Africa isn't? If you check these other countries, you find out that most of them have a streamlined way of doing business. As a matter of fact, they have been able to, I know I shared quite a number of this on Global Business some time ago. Most of them are able to create tax holidays to allow businesses thrive. It's critical sectors of the economy that help businesses thrive, and over the period of time you find out that these businesses are growing, is picking up just little by little. Yes, we have pockets of companies, of stories about companies merging or some folding up and some reducing staff power, but generally it's not as bad as what we have here, because what we have here is more or less we have the citizens being taxed again, and then the regulatory framework that's supposed to be in place to make sure that these policies begin to work are not even there. And then it brings to mind the commitment of governments in various sectors, from the center up to the state level, commitment to actually creating the ease of doing business in the country. Those are some of the key critical things we're looking at here. But then again, moving on to other things and other business news stories from the rest of the world, it may interest you to know that the European Trade Union Confederation, ETUC, has stated that member states are dragging their feet in implementing European Union laws intended to ensure workers get a decent salary, as 7 EU countries aren't respecting the EU minimum wage rules, with weeks to go until a key legislative deadline. The new EU laws agreed in June 2022 in the wake of a significant cost of living crisis is to be embedded in national legislation to take effect. But France, Italy, Portugal, Cyprus, Estonia, Lithuania and Malta are yet to comply. Meanwhile, ETUC says the directive could benefit around 20 million workers, but believes that the minimum wage defined as a proportion of average earnings is sufficiently high in just 2 European Union countries. Now, for the sake of emphasis, real quickly, we just mentioned these 7 countries, the likes of France, Italy, Portugal, Cyprus, Estonia, Lithuania and Malta are the countries that are yet to comply. And then it's amazing, you're hearing of this minimum wage adoption and subsequent payment not being honored in the European Union. That's a case in point, all right? And then it's interesting also to know that this is happening in other places other than Nigeria. Well, in their defense, a deadline of 15 November exists for all of them to comply. But then, in Nigeria, well, how many states have really adopted, let alone agreed to pay or have paid the new national minimum wage? Yes, some have agreed to pay even above the stipulated minimum wage. Yes, great. But a lot more are still sitting on the fence. As a matter of fact, some have not even been able to pay the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Oh well. We'll leave it where it is. Follow up with the stories as they unfold. You're watching Global Business right here on the Afia Business Morning and Afia TV. Join the conversation, and you pretty much can watch it live on our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel. Kindly tap in the search bar www.youtube.com/Afia Business, and while you're there, do well to hit the like button, and you should subscribe so you get notifications on all business related content coming to you from Afia TV. And just so you know, you can follow us on our socials, on Instagram specifically, with the handle at Afia Business _, just so you be part of our social media community. Coming up next will be more business news stories from the rest of the world after this time out. Stay tuned. My name is Ubon Kings.
I am Marvelous Afamaga.
I am Chioma Akbala.
My name is Ifunaya Ndule, but I'm living in our market speaking.
Welcome back to the Afia Business Morning right here on Afia TV, and you are still watching Global Business. Now to the rest of our stories, and still on more stories from the rest of the world. It's reported that the European Heat Pump Association (EHPA) is set to play at least as important a role in Europe's energy transition as electric cars. But a drop in demand following record sales during the 2022 energy crisis has the manufacturers looking to Brussels to address what they see as taxes and subsidies which favor gas. However, according to the European Heat Pump Association (EHPA), sales fell 47% in the first half of the year compared to the same period in 2023, with only Scandinavia, where the technology is already mainstream, bucking the trend. And this is a very interesting story for me, really, because when we talk about European Heat Pump Association, most of us don't understand it. The truth of the matter is, in that part of the world here, it would be more or less, if we had an equivalent of this, it would be the African Air Conditioning Association. You get the point, right? It's pretty much the opposite, but because their weather is naturally cold, super cold, so there is something else, they need heat, right? So this is a critical part of their, so to speak, daily living. And then there's a paragraph, the first paragraph of the story states clearly that the European Heat Pump Association is set to play at least an important role as much as the electric vehicle revolution. But then there is an issue, right? And this issue would be that there was a huge drop that was recorded in demand following the record sales drop during the 2022 energy crisis. And this has made manufacturers, most manufacturers now are looking to Brussels, more specifically in Belgium, to address what they see as taxes and pretty much subsidies which favor gas. Now the idea here is, yes, green energy, but somehow they're falling back to gas. Why? Because it's readily available. So now we're still on that same pedestal, right? Where we're still thinking, a lot of countries are still thinking, do we shun fossil fuels entirely, and do we stick, or do we have an hybrid of both, use both at the same time? I don't know what your thoughts are, but that's what it is as it stands. And quite recently, I did share a story with us about a very prominent car manufacturer, asking the European Union to push back or push forward, if you like, the deadline for complete phasing out of fossil fuel power cars, or they're having a merge between both green energy and fossil fuels, so that to take some time, to phase out, not just abruptly, as it were. This is pretty much the same case scenario here. But then again, it still reminds me of this classic talk about you standing on a rug and someone just pulling the rug right from under your feet. That's pretty much how it feels like right now, especially for this company and this group of persons rather. Well, in an attempt to end this bulletin, let's bring you the report that Russian President Vladimir Putin has already hosted, or rather recently hosted, the leaders of for the 16th annual BRICS summit, aiming to demonstrate that Moscow remains engaged on the global stage, showcasing BRICS coalition as a counterbalance to Western influence in international politics and trade, which Russian officials are viewing as a significant achievement. However, they gathered in Kazan, Russia, for the BRICS summit, countering expectations that the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and international arrest warrants for Putin would isolate him. Now, quickly, this particular event is in furtherance, if you may, of the drive for dominance and segregation, if you may, in the payment gateway ecosystem, amongst other areas of internet dominance for BRICS. And this, and it pretty much is a further push for the de-dollarization of BRICS sympathetic economies. That's what it is. Quite recently, we had they launched a payments platform for BRIC member nations. Incredible stuff that's been done. Now, well, it clearly shows that there's a new drive to something else other than what the West is offering in terms of development, in terms of assistance to third world countries, and all of that. Al Jazeera English takes out the time to report on this. Let's take a look.
In 2024, the bloc's membership doubled as its founding members, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, were joined by Egypt, Iran, the United Arab Emirates and Ethiopia. All have one thing in common: they're not part of the Western world, although many maintain close trade ties there. President Vladimir Putin says BRICS member countries are the drivers of global economic growth.
The total GDP of the BRICS Association is more than $60 trillion, and the total share in the global gross product confidently exceeds that of the so-called G7 countries and continues to grow.
Russian authorities are keen to promote the idea of a unified BRICS financial system to rival the dominant US dollar.
BRICS is perceived as an alternative to the dollar system. It became the platform that offers some alternative ways of carrying out economic and financial transactions. Russia proposes to use some kind of new currency, which could allow national currencies to be converted into a new unit of payment. It will reportedly be electronic digital money.
More than 30 countries have expressed interest in joining BRICS. Their representatives will head to Kazan to participate in the extended BRICS Plus format. Others, however, are in no hurry to join. Russia's ally Kazakhstan says it has no plans to seek membership in the near future. Its president, though, promised to attend the gathering. That invitation came directly from President Putin, who has reaffirmed Russia's support for a two-state solution to the conflict.
Oh well, we'll follow up with the stories and others as they unfold and keep you in the loop just so you know what's happening around the world with reference to businesses. And you may want to get to our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel right now and watching live. Kindly tap on the search bar www.youtube.com/@Afia Business. And while you're there, remember you should subscribe so you get notifications on all business-related content coming to you from Afia TV, as well as being able to know when we go live and join in on the conversations. Do well to also follow us on Instagram with the handle @AfiaBusiness_ to be part of our social media community. You're still watching Afia Business Morning here on Afia TV. Coming up next will be a conversation around the Ministry of Regional Development, its relevance to businesses and livelihood in the southeastern part of Nigeria on the Eastern Business Report. The Afia Business Morning will be right back. My name is Ubong Kings. Stay tuned. My name is Ubon Kings.
I am Marvelous Akwamaga.
I am Chioma Okpala.
My name na Ifunaya Ndule, but I'm living in our market speaking.
Looking to grow your business? At Afia TV, we've got just what you need. With our various on-screen advertising options like squeeze bags, lower third, sidebars, right in front of your audience. With our lower third, your brand messages appear during the most viewed programs on TV, allowing your audience to see your message without interrupting their TV experience. Now, if you want to go big, our squeeze bag is ideal because it puts your brand messages on spotlight without interrupting viewers' experience. With our sidebars, your brand messages also takes the spotlight on our screen, ensuring brand exposure. These advertising options are affordable, effective, and designed to drive results. Get started today and watch your business shoot up. For more inquiries, call the numbers on your screen.
The Afia Business Morning. Join me every weekday on the Afia Business Morning as we bring to you a trilogy of business segments. The opening bell where we see activities from our select stock exchanges. The global business where we bring you up to speed on business activities making the rounds all over the world. And we bring the conversation home on the segment Eastern Business Reports as we discuss business activities and issues bedeviling businesses in the Southeast region. My name is Ubon Kings. Join the Afia Business Morning every weekday 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Exclusive to Afia TV on DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17. The Afia Business Morning. Business unusual.
It's good to have you rejoin us. Welcome back to the Afia Business Morning. And well, this is the Eastern Business Report, which is designed to bring you up to speed on business activities and issues affecting businesses in the southeastern part of Nigeria. My name is Ubon Kings. Welcome. Welcome back. Well, we're still talking about issues around the purported Ministry of Regional Development and its relevance to businesses and, of course, livelihood of the southeastern region of Nigeria. We're interested to know that the Federal Executive Council, FEC, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has scrapped the Niger Delta Development Ministry and the Ministry of Sports Development. Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, stated this on his X handle. And he goes on to say that there will now be a Ministry of Regional Development to oversee all the regional development commissions, such as the Niger Delta Development Commission, Northwest Development Commission, Southeast Development Commission, and Northeast Development Commission. All these issues and more will pretty much form the basis of our conversation this morning. And joining me on this conversation around the Ministry of Regional Development, specifically its relevance to businesses and livelihood in Southeast Nigeria, is none other than Emeka Odom, who is a journalist by excellence and a public affairs analyst. It's good to have you, Emeka, join us this morning. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, quickly, your thoughts on this. Let's start there. I mean, did you see this coming?
Well, I didn't see it coming. I must confess, I didn't see it coming. But if you ask me, I would say it's a welcome development. Welcome development in the sense that at least this is the right step in the right direction. Now, if you look at the Ministry of Niger Delta before it was scrapped, it's quite close-ended. It simply tells you that the ministry's core attention, what is cut out to do, the business of Niger Delta. And if you also ask me, there's notably one agency, the NDDC, the Niger Delta Development Commission. And so when you say the Minister of Niger Delta, it simply means that this is what this agency, this is what this ministry, this is their core business. Now, you have other commissions that are in like manner with NDDC. You have the Southeast Development Commission that has just been signed into law by the president, even though we are yet to see, more action in terms of actual establishment of the commission, with all the paraphernalia and to enable it to start operations. Then you also have the Northeast Development Commission, and possibly, of course, I also know that there's the Southwest Development Commission that is still in the works, still at the National Assembly. And so when all of these agencies come up, are you now going to create a ministry for each of them? So you find now that this step is in the right direction. So you have a ministry that will now have to aggregate all of these other commissions, and put them together, because they're all at par. That's just what it means. It doesn't matter whichever, of course, we agree they all have their individual problems that they have to deal with. Maybe for the Northwest, for the Northeast, their major issue now has to do with, devastation that is caused by long years of, fight against insurgency. Then also you have the issue of deforestation. You have the issue of Lake Chad. You have many other, environmental issues that are very common to that area. And of course, you come to the Southeast here, the problems are very obvious. You know the issues of erosion. You know the issue of neglect over the years, the bad roads, the many infrastructures that are crying for attention, and many other things. And so they have to deal with these things. But the ministry is there. It's not the job of the ministry to begin to work on these areas. That is why you have the commission. The commission is the agency, the organization that will have to tackle all of these issues as they are peculiar to the various regions. Now, the ministry is there to supervise, harmonize, and take their case to the cabinet level. And so, for me, it's a right step in the right direction. But having said that, you also know that, like I always say, we know ourselves. I remember when I was in the university, one guy who wanted to contest election, and when it was time for the manifesto night, he just came out when he was meant to talk to the students. He said, "Look, you know me, I know you." So that was his manifesto. So in Nigeria, we know ourselves. We know them, they know us. And so it's not just about creating the ministry. changing the nomenclature and, somehow, in quote, playing to the gallery. It's not just that. We want to see real governance. When this ministry is properly established, when they complete the processes of, balancing the papers and moving the personnel and changing the nomenclatures and every other thing else, we want to see real work, we want to see real supervision. The ministry must play its role, in supervising these commissions. And by the way, why hasn't the Southeast Development Commission come in? It's heading towards 1 year now that I remember that was one of the earliest bills that the president signed when he was sworn in, on 29th of May last year. This is October is about to round off. Yeah. So why hasn't that bill come up? It's not as if they are going to. I'm sure they are going to source their initial staff from the MDS. I don't think accommodation should be their problem. So what is exactly delaying them? The people should know, because we live in a country where, having succeeded in fighting the major battle of getting convincing the legislators at National Assembly to agree to, passing the bill. Now also, you pass the hurdle of convincing the president to sign. So why should we also find another hurdle of establishing the commission itself? Must we wait for another 1 year before we establish the commission? So these are so that commission should be established clearly, and so that it can, because until it takes off, growth cannot come. Yeah. So for me, is a right step in the right direction. Okay. It now remains to do the right thing. It's not just to change the nomenclature. Yes. Do the right thing.
Now, another thing that I want to point out very quickly was there was a shakeup of this cabinet. I know of 6 persons thereabouts, so 5 persons who have been excused. I wouldn't want to use the word sacked, but that's pretty much the word. Those that were relieved of their duties were the Minister of Women Affairs, Joe Kennedy Ohaniye, Minister of Education, Tahir Mohammed, Minister of Tourism, Lola Adejon, Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, Abdullahi Mohammed Gwamzo, and Minister for Youth and Development, Jamilia Bio Ibrahim. These persons were relieved of their appointment, and then a particular name popped up. It's not every time we get to hear names that come from a particular extraction being appointed as ministers. And let's just be real about it. And then a certain name popped up, and this has been all over the whole place. Right, I'm talking about the name of a significant appointment. That's what it was called in the news on the leadership newspaper. They called it a significant appointment. I'm talking about when the name Bianca Ojuku's name came up as the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. Now, what are your thoughts? Let's start there.
Okay. Again, also, let me begin by also commending the president. Perhaps this is the very first time we are seeing names are being thrown up. Ordinarily, before now, you will get to know who and who. You only hear that the president has sent a list of names to the National Assembly. It is actually the Senate president, at the time he's reading the letter on the floor of the House, that you get to know who and who's. Now, that's number one. So this time around, we are getting to know. That's number one. Then number 2 is that this is also the first time that as the names are coming up, there's a portfolio attached to it. So this is also commendable. Well, the appropriateness of the portfolios is a different thing, but at least there's a portfolio attached to the names from day one now. So we wouldn't have to wait until the day they are being sworn in before we get to know who is going to which ministry. Now, also, having said that, let me come to the issue of, yes, when this news broke yesterday, of course, our men, the men in the pen profession, gave it probably what they've been expecting. The president has sacked some ministers, and quickly the chief spokesperson to the president came to say no, they were not sacked. But I don't know what else again to call it. As far as I'm concerned, they were, whether you say they were excused, they were shoved out, it's a sack for goodness sake. Their journey in the Federal Executive Council for now has come to an end, and so that is. I'm sure they themselves know that if they're expecting to have a repeat of what happened during the Muhammadu Buhari regime, where people spent 8 years or spent 4 years, probably it's not going to happen. I don't think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that kind of person. So that is that. Now, whether some appointments were significant or not, for me, I don't think so. What is significant about it? You from Anambra State, the president dropped Uju Kennedy Ohanene, right? And from who was a minister Minister of Women Affairs. That's a substantive minister. Now you are appointed from the same state a minister of state. Now, from what we know, minister of state is a little bit, in terms of protocol, is a little bit inferior to a substantive minister.
True.
So, what is significant about that? The woman himself had held a high-standing position in the past. She was an ambassador, a former Nigerian ambassador. Is this Spain or where? But So, what is significant that she's been asked to come to the cabinet? She is qualified. She is qualified by every standard. So that's the widow of the late Ikemba is being given an appointment. Is it what all of us should go and walk around Lagos Lagoon and clap? So sometimes too our men our men are in the press. Sometimes they need to tone down some of these things, because I don't see if actually is. What is significant in the very first place? That is the minister of. Well, I respect that position. I congratulate, Chief Mrs. Bianca Chief Mrs. Bianca Ojukwu. That's a great one. We clap for her. We congratulate her. But the president dropped a substantive minister from Anambra State and appointed a minister of state. So how do we place that? That is not to say that the appointment, that is not to demean the appointment. But I'm just saying that, when people say, oh, it was a, if the president wants to, do something that's very significant per se, let him give 2 service chiefs to the Southeast. And if you go to the cabinet list now and find out the whole of Southeast, that's the region with the least appointments. Although I'm not the kind of person that wants to start picking hole in all of these things, because I've read some, somebody did an analysis, and if you go to the 6 geopolitical zones, out of the 48 or 46 ministers we have now, this is what the Southwest is getting, this is what the South is getting, this is what the Southeast, Northwest, North Central, and so, and if you balance all of these things, very fine, the Southeast probably occupying the list. They are getting the least appointment, the least attention in terms of appointment, And so, yes, we have a service chief from the Southeast here, and for me also, I was one of the people, when people were clapping and said, what are you talking about? Is it not something we merit? We have our officers in the armed forces who are very much qualified. So when you appoint, if you appoint a service chief from the Southwest, they're not going to start clapping. So you see, and that is one of the bad things about it. When President Muhammadu Buhari came here and he looked at the Southeast, and he as far as I'm concerned, he relegated the Southeast so much in terms of consideration for federal appointments, and now looked as if anybody that comes to do the right thing, all of us start clapping, say, hey, this one is great. And what is great? You're doing the normal thing. And by the way, I don't even think that these people are doing enough, because you only check. See, it's not that appointment that is, mandated by the Constitution. Is not what we are going to use to judge you. For instance, when you come to the ministerial appointment, the Constitution says at least there has to be one minister from each state of the federation, and so you have just kept the baseline. In so state, you appointed only one person. You took one person from there and made him a minister, and we'll start clapping for you. Now, those appointments that you're not bound by the Constitution, that's when we will know exactly how you feel. How many of them are you taking outside of your friends?
We'll come to that. Now, quick question that comes to mind really is, one of the few things, I saw quite a number of comments, but this one is one I'm going to take. Says, how are we even sure that she would take that role? Well, that's also another. I should have thought that they must have contacted her before throwing the name up. But again, also, this is Nigeria. It's a possibility. I mean, if they can sack people without actually informing them, they can also appoint without informing them. So I won't be surprised. Yeah. I won't be surprised. Yeah. We have had cases where a minister was in the hospital and he was removed. We also had a case where a minister was in faraway country, on official duty, and they were announced at Radio Nigeria that he has been removed. Yeah. So anything is possible. Now, let's talk about the relevance of this really to us here in the Southeast. A lot of people have the opinion that this is more or less another political gimmick by the government at the center, bringing late Biafran leader's wife to the fold, number one. Number two, it is also designed to help douse tension in the southeast. How true is that?
No, what tension is he going to douse?
No, that's the point I want to understand.
What tension?
It doesn't make any sense from me. From
what tension is he going to? Are we fighting with the president? We are not fighting with the president. Election was held, and we felt that look, this is the way we should go. And I mean, some people said no, this is where they want to go to. And the election came and passed. So are we not loyal to federal government? So when people, and that is why for me, when people use some certain words, I frown at it. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing. Which station are you going to? Haven't we had ministers here before? Uju Ohenenye was from Anambra State. She is not a less Anambra or Southeast person than Chief Mrs. Bianca Ojukwu. They are all legitimate daughters of Igbo land. They are all high-profile daughters of Igbo land. So what is? If you even ask me, I should quarrel at why you should drop a minister of state and appoint why you should drop a substantive minister and appoint a minister of state. And again also, is it the former Onyeji Ocha also who was handling the minister of state for labor and productivity? I think is it.
No, go on.
I think that ministry was one of the ministries that was merged or something like that. I didn't really get the gist, But for me, there's no dousing of any tension here. This is not the first time the woman is holding an appointment. She was an ambassador, and many people will tell you that look, they even prefer to be an ambassador. After when you in a foreign land, you are the head of the Nigerian community there. So what is the tension? The truth cannot be substituted. The Southeast needs to be given whatever, whether we want to use the word, let them be given a space, let them be supported, let them be encouraged, let them be voted, whatever language you want to use. The Southeast must not or should no longer be, either relegated or marginalized or whatever thing it is, whatever we want to say it. Just like the former president Olusegun Obasanjo was saying a few days ago, where he talked about that the Southeast must be supported by the other regions. We have supported other regions in the past. We have. In 1999, we voted for Olusegun Obasanjo in PDP. The Southeast voted for PDP. In 2003, the Southeast voted for Olusegun Obasanjo in PDP again. In 2007, the Southeast voted for Umaru Yar'Adua in PDP. In 2011, the Southeast voted for South in PDP as well. So why can't other regions support to vote the Southeast, irrespective of whichever party we find ourselves in? That is inclusion. So it's not about the Southeast has been vice president of this country. So when people say is to douse tension, I really don't understand what that means.
Now let's wrap this up because I don't want to time quickly. Now, how do you see this Ministry of Regional Development affecting the business ecosystem and landscape of the Southeast?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That having taken this right step in the right direction by bringing all the commissions, doing the same thing at the various regions under one ministry. That's the right step in the right direction. The next thing is let the ministry properly, after they must have completed their protocol of handover and whatever thing that is required by law, by status to get established, let them settle down to business. You see, we saw the Ministry of Niger Delta and NDDC, more like, do I say, they didn't really quite agree because there were a lot of things that, a lot of revelations came, and each time they go to the National Assembly for probe, you hear a lot of things. Right. And I remember when the current Senate president was the minister in charge of Niger Delta in the last administration. So too many things happened. Too many things came to public, domain. So this time around, let the ministry play its rightful role. Number one, properly supervise these commissions. Help them to do the right. Don't take over their job, because a situation where, because one of the issues that came up in the last time was more like the minister trying to, overboss the chairman of the commission. And these agencies, these commissions are not just as other government agencies, you may say. They are not just like other commissions. These are commissions that their establishment, their composition, the positions there are clearly, they are quite incidental, and they are clearly spelled out in law, So the commission must understand the sensitivity of those agencies, allow them to do their job, but supervise them to do their job. Let them not just be agencies or things that will just exist at the level of nomenclature and that leaves it. Let it be operational. Let the people feel the impact of these commissions. And so in that case, the ministry will be doing it. And the person who is going to oversee that ministry also matters a lot, because I know that one of the things that happen in this country is we can't take politics away. Like you were asking, is it more politics? Of course, at the end of the day, politics is at the center of it all. We all know all these things. Politics is at the end of it. But in spite of that, play the politics and get the job done. These are the two issues. Play the politics and get the job done. But in playing the politics, don't let whoever is going to become the minister of that ministry to now, begin to tilt towards one side and see himself. Probably if he's from so region, it is only that commission that, as long as he's concerned, that he is up to serve. He will now fail to understand that the other commissions, he equally has a responsibility to make sure that they all feel the impact of governance. And so if that is done, then of course we know that this whole thing would have been very gainful.
All right, I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much, Emeka, for coming. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, this is the Science of the Package. Today on the Eastern Business Report, I've played host to Emeka Adam, a journalist by excellence and a public affairs analyst, and we look at issues around the Ministry of Regional Development, checking out to find out the relevance to businesses and livelihood of persons in the southeastern part of Nigeria. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning live from Enugu State, Nigeria. Coming up next is Afia. My name is Ubong Kings. Stay tuned.
Good evening to you, viewer, and welcome to Women in Business, a show that profiles women, executives, and even the next girl store owner, showcasing Igbo greatness to the world.
I started always obsessed with books ever since I was a child.
The stress of always